Welcome in to a
Oh boy.
bonus edition of Seminole Headlines. If you're watching this, you know I'm Ira. That's Corey. Jeff Cameron's not here. That's why I tried to impersonate his
Mm,
booming
yeah.
broadcast voice that I do not possess. But Corey, we're going to talk. We're going to answer some questions from the Renegade Room and a new twist now. This is going to be available to people on the Renegade Room, and then also I think to some people who subscribe on the YouTube channel. There's another way you can get this bonus content of Seminole Headlines, not going out to the masses, but
Right.
it is here for you on the Renegade Room, and the questions are coming from the Renegade Room. So we'll get to those here in a second, Corey. Unless there's anything else anything you want to start us off with.
Well, I doubt anybody asked about the women's basketball team.
Oh, we can talk about that real quick.
But
Yeah.
that was, I'll be honest, I don't know if you can bet on women's basketball. I guess you can. You can bet on anything, but I don't know. But if I was going to bet, I would have lost a ton of money because I kept telling people there's no reason for Latson to come back for that game or Gordon because they're not going to win anyway. They couldn't beat them with those two, so let them get healthy or whatever was wrong with them, so they could win the game this weekend against Duke. So that's one of the more just because the last few times they had played good offensive teams, they had been crushed. Like they had lost by 25, and I'm like, yeah, man, they can't go up there. They don't have they just can't get the stops necessary to beat a team like Notre Dame anywhere, much less in South Bend, much less coming off a loss. Like Notre Dame was coming off a loss, so you're like, yeah, man, they're not going to play around in this game. So that's really one of the best wins I think Florida State women's basketball has ever had, in my opinion. Not the best. They've had some really nice ones, but holy cow, that was a great win.
Yeah, I almost asked Brooke Wyckoff on the Zoom after the game whether it was where it ranked in the
It's
all-time
her
wins.
best win, 100%. It's her
Yeah.
best win.
And I felt weird asking it, so I didn't ask it because I was like, well, I mean, I'm sure there's been a ton, but really they've only beaten 4 top 5 teams on the road before. So it's in one of the, they've only done this 4 times. Notre Dame was number 3 in the country. And the 2 data points that were sticking into my brain going into the game, Corey, and to follow up your point, one was, I don't know if you remember this, when Coach Sue was still the head coach, they had this was when Alexa was playing high school basketball. That's why I was really kind of focused on it because her team went to the game. But they had a huge home game against Notre Dame, and and they tried to basically fill the tuck. They were trying to pack the tuck. They gave, I think it was like dollar tickets, and it was a madhouse. I mean, they really did a great job of trying to really just get the entire Tallahassee community to come in there. Usually for FSU home games for women, they may get 2 or 3,000, but I mean it was probably 10,000, maybe may have been more. It was slammed. I mean, it took us so long to get into the arena because they couldn't handle all the people coming in that they were down, I think, 20 points by the time we got in.
Yeah, that was the game they lost by 100 or could have lost by 100. Like they were never in it. Yeah, I remember that. And they've been in the NCAA tournament like, I don't know, 14 out of 16 years or 14 out of 15 years. They're a good program, but they haven't been able to kick down the wall to be a top 5, top 10 program. They're always hovering like as a 5 or a 6 seed. Sometimes they'll be as high as a 3 seed. This year, I thought they were kind of on the trajectory to be an 8 seed, a 7 or an 8 seed. And now they've got back-to-back road wins over top 20 teams, including the number 3 team in the country. So, yeah, man, they have a chance to be a 4 or a 5 seed now. And they have maybe the best player in the country or one of them. And I thought it was another really cool moment for Tanai Latson, who had missed a few games, because she was not good the first 3 quarters.
No.
Offensively. She was not good at all. And they still had a lead. And then when Notre Dame got it to within 1 or 2 points, I think she scored the next 10 points in a row or 12 points in a row or whatever it was. That's what great players do. That's what superstars do. So good for them. And Timpson's awesome. Timpson's a really, really good, and not unheralded necessarily because she's broken all these records too. But when you're playing with Tanaya Latson, you're always kind of second fiddle. But she'd be first fiddle on a lot of teams. She's awesome.
Yeah, and the other data point I was going to mention also was, as you said, they played Louisville and NC State back to back at home.
Yeah.
2 huge
got
games, and
crushed.
yeah, the problem with women's basketball, like you said, is you can be a top 20-ish team and be a tournament team, but the gulf between those teams and then the top 5 is usually just enormous. And they played those 2 really good teams at home and just got crushed, like you said. So I started thinking, man, this season may unravel, but they've won 4 straight, including some of those without tonight, Latson and Gordon, and then they come back last night and they got that huge win. So that was cool. Thanks for bringing that up, Corey.
Yeah, I could tell you if Jeff Cameron was here, we wouldn't have spent the first 5 minutes talking about women's basketball. So this is what you get, guys.
You need Jeff to come back quickly. All right, we're going to answer a few questions here from the Renegade Room. First one up is S. Quinn, 87, who should be, or 67. He probably should be on we should have him on when Jeff can't make it.
Yeah, no lie. He's part of the show for sure.
Gents, while I was sitting in the stands at Aviva Stadium over there in Dublin, I recognized it was going to be a rough year. I had no idea it was going to be that bad. As we move on to this year, what do you want to see in the first few drives versus Alabama that will make you feel like we are a physically tougher team? Thanks for the extra content, S. Quentin, class of 93.
I've asked him before. I can't remember what the reason for the 67 is, but it's not his birth year, obviously, and it's not when he graduated. So
it's mystery. The way he phrased that question is interesting because he says that as he sat there watching, the game at Dublin, that he knew that this was going to be a rough year. And he says, what do you want to see the first few drives? Well, the first drive in Dublin, we thought, man, this team's going to run the table. It did. And even the first few drives, I don't think it wasn't really until late in the second quarters when I started thinking, oh, man, this offense is a struggle right now.
Well, and the defense wasn't good either
no.
in that game at all. And the defense gave up a touchdown on its first drive of the season, too. And Georgia Tech went right through them. Georgia Tech ended up being a good team, especially when that quarterback was healthy. But that was it was concerning how easily they moved the ball in that opening drive. Look, man, I think with that, to me, it comes back to defensively. I just want, and Jeff brings this up a lot, so I'll speak for him since he's not here. I want to see just a different level of physicality, violence, urgency on the defensive side of the ball. I don't want to be catching guys and falling backwards or tripping them up. I want people going backwards. I want the line of scrimmage moving backwards from the defensive line. And that's what I want to see. I don't know if I'm going to put anything into the first couple of drives, but that's when I want to see that game. Win or lose, I want to see a different level of violence on defense.
Yeah, one of the thing that Tony White said, and I know you guys have talked about it on Wake Up Warchant, and I know Jeff and Tom have talked about it on the Jeff Cameron show, but I don't think I've gotten a chance to chime in on it. I thought one of the comments from all the players, the newcomers that we talked to, when we've asked them about Tony White's defense, and they talk about, at the end of the day, man, just run and hit. Go run as fast as you can and hit somebody and collide. And I agree. I mean, I think that would be a huge, and that's specifically what he asked about was how do we think they'll be a tougher team? I think if we see some physicality on both sides of the ball, I mean, are they actually moving people on the offensive line? And are you seeing some collisions on the defensive line? Are you moving the line of scrimmage? I think that was the thing in the Georgia Tech game that I just assume, man, they got caught off guard. They were caught unawares. They didn't expect Georgia Tech to be that polished or as good as they were or have a good game plan, and they just were on their heels. It turned out this team just wasn't very physical, and that got exposed. But I don't know. But on that point, though, I don't know if we're going to have a great feeling in this game because it is there's so many variables in this game. This is a Florida State team that should get a lot better as the year goes on with so many new parts. And Alabama's kind of in a weird place right now, too, with a new quarterback. So I don't know that we can have huge takeaways from that game other than just optics, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't expect the offensive line to just be pushing Alabama all over the field. That seems like that's a bridge too far. But you can tell if a team is plays with urgency, and you can tell that team last year on defense just from the jump. And I think a lot of it, Ira, had to do with I like the fact that they have two linebackers that have played a ton of football. They're not going to be hesitant. I thought the two linebackers last year had no idea what they were doing some of the time. So it's hard to play fast when you're not trusting that you know where you're supposed to be or what you're doing. So, and in that Georgia Tech game, who did they play? Was it Lundy or Graham that was basically playing at 50%? And they played him the whole game.
Yeah, I think it was mostly Graham. I think Graham really wasn't practicing much in camp.
Yeah.
And then
played 50 snaps or whatever it was. It was crazy. Hopefully the linebacker will be so much improved that it will look better just for that reason, I think.
And remember, what's his name? The kid from Texas, Justin Cryer. he didn't even play in that game, but they never
I know.
explained why.
Yeah, and then he was their best guy before he got hurt. Well, whatever, man. Whatever.
Right.
It's a new era, Ira. New era, new
Looking for
coaches.
all right. Next up from Island Chief, gentlemen, Jeff touched on it. Good, because he's not going to touch on it again. But I want to
Yeah.
take it a step further. Why for the love of all that is holy, do we not just go into a fully robotic calling of balls and strikes in baseball? Do you think umpires will have a change of heart when they are called out in real time? Getting it right is the best thing for the game, isn't it? It wouldn't slow down the game, and it takes the umpire off the hook. What do you think, Corey?
I don't know. Yeah, again, probably every 6 months, there'll be a Twitter post about the Eric Gregg game from 1997 against the Braves, and I think what gets
Do you
lost in that.
do you just go and like ball up under a blanket somewhere when that happens?
No, we had just won the World Series 2 years before that. So, and even if he calls a normal game, I don't know if the Braves are going to win the World Series that year. But what gets lost in it is Maddox got the same call on the other side of the plate the whole game.
Right.
So I think it's crazy they had any hits at all. Like the Marlins struck out 12 times, the Braves struck out 15 or 16 times. But that every time I see it, it's so unhinged. And if you guys don't know, just go look up Eric Gregg Braves, and you'll see the worst day a home plate umpire has ever had. It's unfair. He's calling both batters boxes, like the middle of the batters box.
The best question is, why did either pitcher ever throw it over the plate?
No, exactly. That's why I'm saying, how did the Marlins score twice? Yeah. What did Maddox do? What are you even doing? What balls did he call? I'd like to see a replay of all the balls he called. But also, if I was a Braves hitter, I would have stopped hitting. I would have just not. When McGriff looks at one that's in the other batter, literally a foot in the other batter's box, I would have said, I'm not doing this. I would have done this and I'm not. Call the crew chief over. What's going on? These are unbelievable. These aren't strikes. But anyway, I get it. But man, it is. I guess it doesn't hurt. I guess to have robot umpires. It'll look weird, but I guess it doesn't matter.
I don't love. Man, I'm a recently reconverted baseball fan. I took a lot of years off because the Orioles suck so much, but I've been back the last few years, and there are some umpires where it's like, man, I don't understand what you're doing, and how did you get this job? You're the best of the best. You're one of the top 150 umpires in the world. It just doesn't make sense. And then I'll go on Twitter and I'll look for those grades they do to show how many calls they miss, and just want to beat your head in the wall. But I do feel like there's an art of baseball that includes pitchers working to the zone and hitters knowing the zone, and so that part of it, I don't know, man.
But if a hitter knows the zone, then don't penalize them by calling a ball a strike.
Well, no, but I mean, they get to know the umpire zone.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, but screw that. I hear what you're saying, but the zone is the zone, right? And I do think a strike is a strike. It shouldn't matter who's behind the plate. This is the size of the plate. If it's over it, it's a strike. If it's 2 inches off, it's not a strike. And it shouldn't be like, umpire Smith always gives a little extra on the black. No, man, that's not how baseball should work. It's a strike or it's a ball. He's safe or he's out. It's not like, well, at first base, you're not like, look, if you're close, he's going to call you safe. That's just how he likes to call a runner safe. He loves doing the safe sign. So if you just get close, just bust your butt down the line, he's going to call you safe.
No, But
I also think it'd be better for the hitters, man. It'd be better for the hitters that these guys are in. What's crazy when you watch these games where they do have the strike zone, the K zone or whatever, there will be balls that are unbelievable pitches that miss an inch off the plate. And the umpire knows it and doesn't call it a strike. And it's this close. Or it barely nips the zone and the umpire calls it a strike. They do get it right a lot. But all these guys are throwing 97. They've got crazy movement. It's never been harder to call a strike, I think. Yeah. Like it comes in really hard. These guys aren't major league hitters. They're having to judge a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, whether it was right on the black or an inch off. So I think it would be better for the hitters and better for offense if they made it a real strike zone. Don't give the pitchers any more help than they already have because they all throw 100. Make it harder for them to strike people out by not giving them anything but what's actually the strike zone. So
Yeah,
I
and that's
like
the
it.
thing. And what you see is the best pitchers in baseball, like literally some of the best pitchers almost never throw the ball over the plate.
Yeah.
They're so good at manipulating the strike zone and kind of expanding it, and then they just it's incredible. I mean, like there are games the Orioles have had, some of these playoff games they've lost where I felt like, man, is this guy? We've never made him throw the ball over the plate, and
Yeah.
it's just. But yeah, it would be weird though. I don't know if I'm ready for it. I don't even know what would you even have an umpire back there?
I
Would he
think
be
you
holding?
would, and then he would just have something buzzing him, like strike or
Okay,
ball. That's how I think it would happen. Otherwise, wouldn't it look weird just to have nothing there, just a catcher?
yeah,
So
and
I think
then
there'd be an umpire there to signal strike or ball to the crowd without. Yeah, I mean, you still have a chair umpire in tennis. You still have those
all right.
lines people.
I'm on board. I'm on
All
board. You
right,
guys,
good, good.
you and Island Chief have a convert. All right, I think this is the last question. Greetings from the Rose City headquarters of Tavello. Shout out to Tavello Brewing up in Thomasville, Georgia, as they're one of our big sponsors on Seminole Headlines, also Birch Orthodontics and Register Sausage. But yeah, go up to Thomasville and have some Tavello.
Yeah,
Let me see. And I just lost this question. Give me 1 second.
good grief.
Greetings from the Rose City. Let's play revisionist history trivia. Mike takes the Bama job following the 2023 season. Who is named the head coach of the Seminoles, and would 2024 have played out any differently?
Well, yes, it would have played out differently,
yeah,
but
I don't know if in a better way.
well, yeah, yes, it would. Could it?
I mean,
What would have been worse?
I mean,
They lose to Charleston Southern.
It might not have been worse, but it might not have been better. Is all I'm saying.
I mean,
I don't know that it would have been better.
I think whoever comes in brings in their own players, maybe their own quarterback. I don't know. Would they have made a run at Gus?
No, I don't. They definitely would have made a run at Lane Kiffin. Now, I don't know if they could have got him because he had that team.
Yeah,
he had assembled his all-in team at Ole Miss. But I definitely know that was, and again, we reported this at the time. But as the Thursday night when Mike Norvell was still debating, the offer was out there ostensibly from Alabama. It was down to him and Kalen DeBoer. The impression people at FSU had, whether or not Norvell and his agent Jimmy Sexton just did a great job of selling it or not, but the impression they had was that it was Mike's job to turn down. They went to bed Thursday night really thinking he was going to go, and they had made some counteroffers and they're going back and forth, but he was planning to go. Friday morning, he was going to let them know for sure, and they had a jet ready to go from what I was told, and they were going to go see Lane Kiffin and a couple other head coaches. I don't know that they could have got Lane Kiffin.
I don't either.
And so I don't know who next.
I mean, I guess they
list.
could have if they were willing to go that high for Norvell. Kiffin would have been an idiot not to walk. And look, man, I know that Ole Miss had the year they had this year, which again they didn't win a championship because they never do. But you'd be an idiot to turn down Florida State to stay at Ole Miss.
And
Ole Miss doesn't win anything.
And you would have brought Jackson Dart and a bunch of other guys with you.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying he might have turned them down. I know the rumor was that if they had fired Napier, they would have made a run at Kiffin. He'd be dumb to turn Florida down. Like, you're not winning things at Ole Miss. If you were, you would have won them by now. It's been 100 years. They don't win there. He's got that thing bumping on the ceiling of what it can be. So he'd have been an idiot to turn down Florida State. I just don't know. I mean, they certainly would have made an offer in over $10 million because they did that for Norvell. So they'd have been willing to do that for Kiffin. So that would have been interesting. But if he says no, and then you're kind of in the lurch there because that was after the new year, right? That was right. Yeah, man, I feel like, they're willing to hire Malzahn now. I wonder if they'd have done that then. He was coming off a good season at UCF, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, possibly. I don't know if the problem, the situation they were in and the reason they had to do whatever they could do to keep Norvell, and they would have done whatever they could do to get a big name coach, was because they felt like after 13-0 and then the snub, you couldn't have a huge step back. You couldn't go 6-6.
Right. Oh, yeah, of course. No, that would have been awful. That would have crippled the program. That would have cratered it.
So they had to go crazy and be all in. So yeah, it would have if it wasn't Lane Kiffin, I think it would have been another high profile coach. I think they really would have gone after another big name. I don't know if Gus. It's funny. I don't know if Gus would have qualified. Maybe.
No, probably not. I was just trying to think. He's in the state. He's had success. He's shown he can recruit. And you're kind of you're. It's a time crunch. It's already January. Yeah, it would have been interesting. I will say this: whether it's Lane Kiffin, Gus Malzahn, or 5 other coaches from smaller schools, I don't know if they'd be better off today as we sit here in 2025. They would have had a better year. Norvell, I mean, they couldn't.
Yeah.
They
No,
me and you would have had as good a year. I mean, it was an abysmal. It was awful. And so yes, the season would have played out differently because they would have been better. But that doesn't mean long term they're better. But 2024, it wasn't going to be great anyway because of the transition. But it wouldn't have been 2-10 if they brought in Kiffin or Malzahn or name someone. The guy at Liberty, I don't care. Like they would have been better just because I think they would have brought in a better quarterback that fits the system, and they would have had an offense that could move the ball.
Better wasn't your first choice there, Corey. What was your
And whatever. Yeah, just anything but what we saw last year. But it's over. So
But
how about
again,
that women's basketball team, Ira? That's a big dub. It's a big dub to start it out.
It is a big dub. All right, man. We're those are all the questions we had in the Renegade Room. If you want to ask questions for the bonus Seminole headlines, if you're watching it if you're part of the YouTube membership, if you want to ask questions, go over to subscribe to Warchant, go in the Renegade Room, get that access as well. It's an ad-free experience. You don't have. I don't sell it too much. People watching this probably already know, but tell all your friends.
Yeah.
Tell all your friends. You want more people in the Renegade Room for better conversation.
Right.
So tell them all about it. All right, Corey. We'll talk to you next time. All right.
Peace.